Hi everyone, and thank you for subscribing to my channel. Please press subscribe now so you'll be notified when my new videos are posted. And thanks for everybody who comments and shares my videos. Please let me know where you're watching in from as well. And again, thanks so much for all your support. Today I want to speak about Micheál Martin, who attended a Britain-Ireland summit in Liverpool hosted by British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Now this has become an annual occurrence now, because last year, remember that Simon Harris, when he was Taoiseach in the revolving door of the Taoiseach's office in Leinster House, he set up this Britain-Ireland summit to go on an annual basis. And of course, he was enjoying having a couple of pints of Guinness with Keir Starmer in Farmley House, all at our expense, might I add. But this meeting was interesting because obviously Micheál Martin was on his way and left it early to go to the European Council Ministers meeting in Brussels today, where I'm sure he's going to be getting much support from his friends and his masters, essentially Ursula von der Leyen, who's been pushing this rearming Europe deal and tearing up the European Union fiscal rule book to support the warmongers and the militarist union that they want to drive towards, rather than serving the interests of ordinary people. But what was interesting about this meeting yesterday is that Micheál Martin has set up this plan to do this UK-Ireland summit every year. Now, what was very fascinating with this was the discussions that took place. They spoke about a 2030 cooperation plan. Now, this is very interesting because this spoke about a green energy transition. They were talking about energy security, trade, and a number of more items such as culture and so forth as well. But really, fundamentally, this was the push towards the green energy transition that we've seen, the push through, for instance, the European Union, the net zero agenda. And also we've seen the push towards offshore wind infrastructure as well. Now, part of the discussions that took place in Liverpool were around this. Now, what's really interesting is that bad enough our land has been sold off to multinationals and vulture funds. The Irish government's plan is to bring private investment in, and they're already working with big private investors and multinational corporations all across Europe to profit from the wind energy that's comes in off the coast of Ireland. Anybody who lives along the east coast of Ireland can see so many of these wind turbines that are going up from Arklow all the way up as far as County Louth, and there are a number off the west coast in Galway. But of course, when it gets too windy, they don't work. But we won't mention that because that goes against the narrative. They can't store energy for a significant period of time. Meanwhile, at the same time, we have so many energy reserves in Ireland that people have been sold off, unexploited, and not to mention, of course, we have the virtue signallers pushing the narrative of this net zero agenda. But what's really important with this is that these multinationals such as RWE, a German multinational, are profiting from this as well. Big investors. This is part of the plan. So Micheál Martin was over there talking about the offshore energy plans. And what's interesting with Britain themselves is that the seabed, the 12 nautical miles out from Britain, is in the control and ownership of the Crown. So King Charles can yield massive profits from the seabed infrastructure. Of course, he's been a big push of this net zero plan as well, hasn't he, King Charles? Part of the Davos clique with the World Economic Forum and all of his rich elitist friends there. Now, this is at the same time where Starmer spoke yesterday as well about having proper diplomacy and genuine diplomacy between both countries, and he said the relationship has never been stronger. Ireland have just been lapdogs for Keir Starmer and a so-called coalition of the willing. Really should be renamed coalition of the killing. And remember the last time a coalition of the willing was named? The illegal invasion in Iraq, of course, but we won't mention that because this goes against the narrative. Again, the freedom and democracy and values nonsense that's been peddled around by the Irish and English and across the spectrum political establishment across the West, who are standing up for the globalists rather than ordinary people. And this comes at the same time when they're investing in a huge military union. Of course, one of the biggest polluters in the world is the military industrial complex, much the same as that company RWE, who are a big carbon emitter, but at the same time they're profiting now from the so-called move to the green energy transition. Of course, nothing to see here because it's all smoke and mirrors run by the elites at the behest of the big corporations and multinationals and billionaires that they represent. And also what's fascinating around Liverpool as well is the fact that more and more people are in poverty in Liverpool. Recently, a number of months ago, where this meeting was held, The council district is the third most deprived across Britain. Third most deprived. Huge amount of poverty, huge amount of inequality, and obviously Keir Starmer, when he came to government, he cut put the two-child cap in terms of benefits on people, and a lot of people are being forced into poverty because of that. And areas such as in Liverpool, such as West Derby and Toxteth, many more places where people live in abject poverty, and these issues aren't being addressed. But of course, Keir Starmer says there's plenty of money in war, much the same as we have here with Micheál Martin, talking about no more supports for people who are in absolute poverty and energy poverty, with the expected increase in energy prices that will probably happen in April, and not to mention the regulator, the energy regulator, who's going to put the price up because of the increased pressures on the archaic infrastructure. We saw the fallout from that from the recent storm, and now at the same time the Irish government have said that they will not be supporting any more people in terms of energy credits. Of course, I spoke in previous videos that the energy credits just prop up the profits of the oligarchs rather than bringing energy back into public control and using the resources of our state for the good of the people. But of course, that doesn't matter a jot, as I've explained earlier in my video to the political leaders in Ireland who are more interested in their globalist masters and their bosses in Brussels, much as Micheál Martin, flying around the world and says Ireland's sovereignty is a backward looking idea, of course. So really fundamentally, the back of all this is that Ireland, Starmer's Britain and the European Union essentially are working in cahoots together. And let's see how this meeting develops with the European Council in Brussels today, and what materialises and develops from that, a push towards the €800 billion war chest and tearing up the fiscal rule books. They wouldn't tear up the fiscal rule books for homelessness, for housing, for the health chaos, for the crime chaos, not to mention the immigration chaos. And this is the nonsense that the Irish government are just peddling day after day, supported by their media lackeys who are just pushing their narrative time after time after time again. So it's time to use your voice, and please use your voice to speak out on these issues as well. Do your own videos, spread the message yourself, whatever you can do yourself, please do it, because now is the time for people now in Ireland to stand up against what's going on. There is an opportunity to stand up against the corrupt status quo that represents the interests of the warmongers, the big corporations, and works against the interests of ordinary people who are suffering and dying and will be killed because of their policies and falling for their propaganda. So thanks for the support of my videos. Please press subscribe to my channel, and please comment and let me know where you're watching from, as I said. And again, please share my videos as well, because of the restrictions that are in place, especially in Ireland, around people speaking out on these matters, because they don't want to get this message out to more and more people. So please share it, and thanks for all the support of my video. So from Dublin, Slán, take care.